Good evening, guys. Welcome to episode 7 of the Sky Media Ventures podcast. We're happy to be here with you today. We're very happy to give you this episode, and man, there's a lot of value that we're going to be talking today. And I like to be very transparent, and I like my audience to be on the same journey as the journey we're on. We actually had a guest speaker scheduled to come in. Things happened. They had to take a quick flight last minute, and they were off to the White House in Washington, D.C. So last night I got a text message saying, Nathaniel, we can't come on the show because we're flying to the White House. So I thought that was really interesting. And looking forward to that person coming on the cast and telling you about their story and how they ended up, working with the White House and having to take these last minute flights. I think that was super duper cool. But for this episode, for episode 7, I want to talk about something that's very near and dear, and it's going to be 10 things that I did in college to help me become very successful. And so this episode is going to be kind of short, anywhere between 25, 35 minutes. And we just want to run down those 10 things. And who is this for? This is for that person in college. This is for that high school student or that middle school student looking to go to college. And this is for that person that wants to get really great results. And I feel you. I felt the same way. Here's what I found. There's a couple of principles that you have to adopt and a couple of things you can leverage in college that's going to give you a huge, tremendous advantage. So guys, without any further ado, I'm going to be listing the top things that I did in college that led me to massive success. We're talking student body president, recipient of one of the highest awards a citizen can get in the town, commencement speaker, and I even received this statue from the college. It was pretty cool for top athlete and top contributor and stuff like that. So I say these things not to try to impress you, but to press upon you that if I could do it, so can you. And if you have a child that's maybe going into college, they can learn these principles and they will have massive success. A lot of people say college is a scam. I don't believe that. I believe you can leverage college for a lot of free resources that it comes with, and here is it right here. Okay, so for the first thing that helped me become extremely successful in college was I had the mindset of a competitor. Already going into my freshman year to that first semester as a freshman, fall semester, I was already thinking, man, I am competing with every single student that's coming into the class, that's already a sophomore, junior, that's already on the sports team that I had got affiliated with. So off the top, some people go into higher education with a kind of a relaxed mindset. Oh, we're going to be open and just try out a bunch of new things. I think what gave me a tremendous advantage was I already had the mindset of a competitor going into it, so it made it really easy to find opportunities. And then we did post a episode. Our second episode was a little bit of my story, and before going into college, I had read dozens and dozens of books on entrepreneurship, leadership, sales. So going into college, it was really, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Wanted to do business, wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted to make profit. Profit, wages are good, but profit is better, in my opinion. So that's the first thing. The first thing is have a mindset of a competitor. Second thing that led me to a lot of success in college was my first fall semester. I wanted to learn who the top executives of the school was and who the president of the college is. Like the single person, the president of the college. And I'm going to be telling you stories throughout this episode. As a freshman, I was sitting in the church and the entire class was getting a lecture by the president of the college. First week, very first week, the president of the college, his name was President Shares, Maurice Shares, rest in peace. He passed away earlier this year. Phenomenal man. He helped change in my life for the better. He tells our entire class, he goes, guys, we have an open door policy. I have an open door policy. If you ever come to my office and knock on my door, I will stop what I'm doing and meet you. Guys, when I heard this guy say that, first week of starting classes, my freshman year, best believe I took advantage of that open door policy. As soon as that talk was over, it could have been the next day or maybe that evening, I walked into his office and I said, hey, you don't know me, but I want to introduce myself to you. Are you the president of Newberry College? Hey, my name is Nathaniel J. Carrasco. I just want to introduce myself. He looked at me, and this is the story. He looked at me and said, Nathaniel, before I introduced myself, he goes, what kind of trouble can I get you out of? Trouble. And I was thinking, like, what does he mean by that? And what I learned is most students visit the president when they're in trouble. And that's like 90% of the times they're going to visit his office. I just wanted to meet the guy, to network with him. If I was attending this college, this university, I made it my business to know who the president was. And ever since that first interaction and shaking his hand, man, that really led to a lot of great conversations and a great relationship with that man, and a lot of doors opened because he had a personal relationship with me. Remember, there's 1,500 students in the school, all these personality types, but how many make it their business to stop what they're doing, to knock on the president's door and say, hey, my name is Amanda, or my name is Carlos, or my name is Nathaniel. Just wanted to stop in and meet you and shake your hand. So that's the second thing. Meet the top executives, the president. The third thing that led me to a lot of success in college, guys, sit in the front row. I'm talking, if there's 10 rows or there's 8 rows, you got to sit in the first, maybe the second. But for me, I was always a first row kind of guy. My thinking process was I wanted to be the first to get the info. I wanted to let the professor know that I was the most attentive. I wanted to be able to, contribute to the class. I always sat in the front row and kind of was like a little teacher's pet. I know that sucked. I know some of you are like, oh man, he was a teacher's pet. Best believe I was a teacher's pet. I wanted to know everything about that professor, especially if he was teaching about finances or contracts or entrepreneurship. I thought, maybe this person knows something that's a little bit above and beyond the classroom. So what gave me a lot of advantage was sitting in the front row. And I actually, big shout out to one of my old professors, Professor Leon Banks. Every time I talk to him, he remembers that about me. He goes, Nathaniel, you were sitting right smack dab in the center of the room. And that's where, and he goes, and now every time a student sits right there, he thinks of me, and I think of him too. And his son actually became a very, very successful entrepreneur. So big shout out Professor Leon Banks and his son, Charlie Banks. Okay, guys, fourth thing that's led me to tremendous success in college. When the professors said, do you guys have any questions? Be the first to raise your hand. Like already kind of have some questions that you have in your brain that you want answered. And don't be afraid to ask them. Raise your hand up high and proud and ask those questions. More than likely, there's somebody around the class that's thinking that same thing. And then the second thing is, so many people, even when I went to school, were on their cell phones. They just didn't really care too much. So when a professor's asking questions, especially open-ended questions, that's a fantastic time for some interaction. That's some fantastic time to really develop some great rapport in front of everybody. And you can kind of, show off some leadership skills in front of all your student peers. I remember doing that a lot. It got to a point where halfway through my college career, anytime that I was in a class with someone, they were like, oh, that's Nathaniel. That guy, he's really about it. It's because we had good questions, so the four things we have so far: 1, have the mindset of a competitor. 2, you want to meet the top executives, the president of the college. 3, sit in the front row. And 4, be quick to ask questions whenever the professor asks you stuff. Number 5, that's going to help you guys have a lot of success in college, is become friends or become buddy with your professors. And how do you do this? You want to either come in before class starts, or you want to wait until class ends, as long as they're not, busy going to another class, and you want to kind of get to know their story. Remember, these professors are just like us. They're just 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. And they will remember a student trying to take their time to really get to know them. That professor is going to put you onto their network. They're going to put you onto information that maybe they haven't taught in the class, because remember, in the classroom they're teaching masses. Maybe there's some stuff that the masses can't just learn just yet because they're not at that level. But if you take time individually and meet with that professor after class or before class and really just say, hey, Professor John Smith, I really appreciate you teaching us. Just wanted to once again introduce myself formally, shake their hand, and then ask them, hey, what's something that I could do proactively to kind of make this class easier or kind of get ahead? I know that sounds super formal. I know that sounds geeky. I know that sounds nerdy, guys. It works tremendously. I do that with clients, in business. So it works tremendously. Okay, number 6, that's going to help you become super successful in college. Find leadership organizations. And if you can't find a leadership organization to be a part of, build your own. One leadership organization I thought of right off the top of my head, I read the student handbook before starting classes, and that was the Student Government Association. I knew nothing about SGA. All I read was there's a book that teaches students how to be leaders, and then in that book, it talked about all these different positions. Some of these positions you were appointed, some of these positions you were elected. But what did joining leadership in college teach me? It taught me being a leader is a servant position. You don't become a leader and get a title and that is it, done deal, and that's that. No. When you join a leadership organization, and the higher you go up in that leadership organization, you are a servant. In fact, we call it servant leadership. That's what I learned in college and joining SGA was we are a group of elite leaders in a college, and our job was to serve the student body president. How did we serve the student body president? We listened to them. We uncovered problems. We acted as a liaison between the students and the faculty. And 4th, we held events and stuff like that. So I think any student in college or looking to go into college, something that's going to be a tremendous example or a tremendous benefit for you is joining a leadership organization and learning how to serve your campus community, because that same skills are going to be transferable in the business world, in the market. Because how do you get paid? How do you make money in this market, in this world? It's on the value you bring. So whatever value you give, that determines how much money you make. Is it possible for someone to make $52 million in a year? Well, if they help the company make $1 billion, they'll pay someone $52 million. It's chicken feed, absolutely. So I think student leadership organizations teaches students how to become valuable and how to serve a local community so that when you graduate, you can serve a bigger community. In addition to not only leadership organizations, take this time to build your own organization. Oh my gosh, that is the funnest thing. That's the most fun that you could do. One of my buddies and I, his name is Leonard James. We created an organization in college our sophomore year called the MESC. It stood for Millennial Entrepreneurs of South Carolina. It was so friggin' cool. We thought, hey, let's build a community it was like 20, 25 students who like entrepreneurship, like business ownership, want to learn about money, want to get ahead in life, who are interested in reading books about development, and let's all get together and talk, once or twice a month. And that was probably one of the coolest experiences in college, getting to create your own organization with some of your buddies and then really seeing that kind of value. Now, this is the kind of value we brought to the school. When we created this entrepreneurship organization, we were able to ask people outside of the college to come in and talk about their experiences. We brought in business people, insurance people, athletes. We brought in a couple other professionals, and it was so prevalent in our school that the top executives of the school said, hey, we're going to consider your club as credits for something called FAL, which stood for like fine arts lecture. And they said the guests that you're bringing in, they're talking about, their experiences, we can actually help other students get credits where they're missing out. So that was huge. We were like, wow, I can't believe we just started a student organization, and now we are an asset to the student body. So that was really, really cool. And then, getting to design T-shirts and having meetings and stuff like that. Guys, it was just the coolest thing ever. So SGA, student government, and then MESC, Millennial Entrepreneurs of South Carolina. It was just a really great experience. And even my own company, Sky Media Ventures, as you see behind me, it's actually a derivative from MESC. So what we created in college, we basically created again after college, but this time became a 6-figure company. So, what you do in college can affect you afterwards as well. Okay, so that was the 6th thing. Here is the 7th thing. Work in as many departments in college as possible. We're usually given 3.5 to 5 years in college. Most people 4. What helped me develop a resume, I already had a stellar resume graduating college because I took advantage of most departments at the college I went to. What kind of departments, you may ask? Residential life. I was an RA for 1 semester. I even had my dorm fees, waived. That was really, really awesome. I didn't like being an RA, but I had the experience, which was really cool. Institutional advancement, which was also called alumni relations. That was actually a really awesome department because I learned the ideology of a philanthropist, people who become massively successful and decide to give back. And especially at the college I went to, private liberal arts, we actually kind of lean on private donors giving back to the college. So that was great experience to have, getting to mingle with alumni who were multi-millionaires giving back tens of thousands of dollars to the college. I thought, shoo, how do I join this club? I want to make multi-million dollars, and I could see myself giving thousands of dollars back because of the effect Newberry College had on me. So work in as many departments. Some other departments you could work in: lunchroom, campus security. I also had experience working in the admissions department. Working in admissions really helped me in sales, because working in the admissions department, I was talking to potential new students, giving them a whole tour around campus, aka selling them on the school, and then talking to their parents and getting to bring them back to the admissions department. So that was very, very cool. Not even it was cool, but that was like really the type of experience you get to have one-on-one with a potential student looking to pick a college, and you are that voice representing that school, selling them on that school, and then for them to actually join the school the next year. That's a phenomenal experience. That happened to me several times. And I think the biggest group I talked to was 50 football players. One time there was 50 football players, all high schoolers, and they were touring the campus. And then somebody goes, Nathaniel, tour all 50 of these football players and then their parents on the whole, campus. I'm not going to say no. You're going to accept the challenge. So that really helped me, guys, and it's going to help anybody who's going into college. Work in as many departments as you can. Okay, the 8th thing, put yourself out there and take a risk. College is a phenomenal place to put yourself out there and risk it for the biscuit. I know you might seem like those 4 years are going by forever. It goes by, but this is a phenomenal time for you to kind of take risks, be uncomfortable, put yourself out there, have those uncomfortable conversations, go for those things that you want to go for, even if it costs you, a little bit of conversations with strangers that you don't want to have. For example, let me give you an example. When I read the Student Government Association's handbook, I read there was class presidents, and then there was a student body president who was the number one leader on paper, the number one servant on paper, and they also got to do a lot of really cool things. I thought to myself, if that's the number one leadership position on paper, I need to be that. I need to be that person on paper. So as a junior, I found out I was eligible to run for this role. Now, it was not appointed. You had to be elected. 1,500 students, and a majority of them had to physically vote for you to say, we think that this guy is a leader enough to be our representative for the entire year. I mean, that's kind of a big ask. I think when you're in college, it's a big ask. And I can remember my junior year, I told everybody in the college, hi, my name's Nathaniel. I'm running for student body president. I want you to vote for me. Can you vote for me? And I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of who? Like, who are you? I did get some yeses, and I worked really hard my junior year. I talked to faculty, professors, students, telling them all like, hey, I'm going to be your student body president. And then we got the results, and I failed. I imagine telling the entire student body that you are running for the number one leadership position. You intend to be their leader. You intend to be, their best advocate to the things they want while in college. And then you don't get it. Like, you literally don't get that position. Well, it's kind of embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing because I remember that week after, dozens of people coming up to me, and they announced it in front of everybody. Everybody was sent an email. It was all over in the cafeteria, who the student body president was going to be, and it wasn't going to be me. So that's a great example of putting yourself out there and taking a risk. And in my result, my junior year, I didn't get it. And when you don't get things, it does one or two things. You either fold, or you say, you know what? I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to try again. And that's exactly what I did. As a senior, I said, you know what? This is my last year in college. Let me try again. Well, you know what? I had to do something different. I had to put myself out there and be creative and take a risk. What I did the second time around, my senior year running for the same position, was I knocked on every single dorm door. Like every single dorm, I'm knocking on the door. And they're opening the door. These are students. And they're like, how can we help you? And it's like, hey, I'm a student here. I know you don't know me, but my name's Nathaniel and I'm running for president. Can you please vote for me right now? And then they would say yes, or they would say no. And I remember getting some no's. But you know what I remember even more? Getting the news that after knocking on every single door on campus, your boy made it. Your boy got the majority of the votes, and he became the student body president, the number one leader on paper. And that was a phenomenal feeling, especially after having failed the year previously. The next year, I was like, you know what? I got to try something different, and I got to win. Because remember, in the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, we had to do something different. We had to take a risk. What that risk was, knocking on doors. And maybe that's why I became a good salesperson after. But I thought that was really cool. Okay, so the ninth thing that's going to help you become a better, it's going to help you get tremendous results in college. Be proactive with your schoolwork. Now, this is something that I can't talk too much about, but I could tell you of a friend who was very, very, very good in this area. One of my friends, Ethan Yaman, tremendous guy. He was always doing his work 2 weeks in advance. He'd always hang out with a little small friend group of mine. And we'd always ask him, like, Ethan, what do you have to do today, schoolwork wise? What assignments are you doing? What projects are you working on? He was always 1 week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks proactively done with like all the work. And there was individuals like maybe myself that was sometimes doing the work hours before, you had to turn it in. So if you're proactive with your work, you can have a way better time in college than if you decide to wait last minute like I do. So for number 9, I did not have that example. Learn from my mistake. I always did work kind of last minute or a day or two before. But my friend Ethan Yaman, big shout out Ethan, he was always such a good proactive student by always doing his work weeks before it was due, and that caused a lot of freedom in his schedule, which was really cool. Okay, guys, the 10th thing, the very last thing, and this is not all in order. You could play around with the order, but the 10th thing that gave me tremendous success in college was getting involved in an exercise program and an exercise regimen. Now, luckily for me, the only reason why I went to college was on a cross-country scholarship. So for 4 years, I competed NCAA, D2, and cross-country and track and field. So I was always exercising. However, if you're a student going into college and you're not a part of a sports team, there's a couple of things I want you to think about. There are intramurals, and there are clubs, and then there are a lot of gyms and just open areas in which you can get plenty of exercise. There's something called the freshman 20 or like the freshman 15, and it's when you first get into university, you gain weight your first semester. Usually the reason why is students leave home for the first time. Maybe if they're not involved in an exercise program, they're not exercising as much, and then they're have access to a giant cafeteria, which usually is a buffet style cafeteria. So people are really seeing that, little, that freshman 15, freshman 20, weight gain right there. So what gave me tremendous success in college was I was always involved in exercising, running, lifting weights, exercising with friends, running many, many, many miles. And there is a huge correlation between exercise and education, and exercise and success. Guys, it's hard to be successful in anything when you're overweight, or when you're just feeling unhealthy. Trust me. I mean, I would say I'm fit, but there are days where I feel unhealthy, and sometimes my brain, like, I don't want to put in that much work. And I would consider myself as like a fit guy. So imagine if someone's 50, 100 pounds overweight, then it doesn't get easier. It only gets harder, and that's the ugly truth. So get involved in an exercise program. But guys, that's pretty much it for this episode. I wanted to make it quick and concise. The top 10 things that has led me to massive success in college. And I've been out of college now for 4 years now, but once there's 2 books I'm going to write. One book on my life, on my journey, and the second book is going to be about how to be successful in college. So once again, the top 10 things are: 1, have a mindset of a competitor early. Have that mindset early. 2, meet the executives, the top executives, even the president of the college. 3, sit in the front row. Become a professor's, student pet, professor's pet. Trust me. 4, be quick to ask questions. Be quick to learn and quick to ask questions too. 5, become friends, buddy with your professors. Learn about them. Learn about their story and how they got there. 6, find leadership organizations. And if you can't find one, you make one. 7, work in as many departments as possible. alumni relation, institutional advancement, admissions ambassador, residential life, lunch, library, tutoring, whatever you have to do. Work in as many as you can. There's no risk. I mean, there's no limit. You know, you could literally work in as many as you want. There's not a scarcity. You know, you'd be amazed. 8, put yourself out there and take risk. If there's positions where you have to run against other people, do it. Just do it. And if you fail, good. Failure is a part of life. The most people who are successful are the people who get tremendous failures. And if you keep failing, you will eventually win. So number 8, put yourself out there and take a risk. Number 9, be proactive with your schoolwork. And then number 10, get involved in an exercise regimen. Guys, this is episode 7, and we're top 10 things that leads you to success in college. Stay tuned. Next week, we have some very, very special guests coming in this month. A lot of value to give you guys. Don't ever forget, sky's the limit, and you can do it. I believe in you. You cannot fool me. I know when I'm in the presence of greatness. I believe in you. Bye-bye.